Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show. I got another great friend who we connected on LinkedIn. My great friend Murray here is on the RNG radio show. I'm really excited to have him here because he's not just from the conversations we had, it's not just real estate and getting folks to where they need to be at. It's actually you personally and cutting down your debt. You hear of a 30-year mortgage? Well, my friend Murray is here to come and show you how it could be done in maybe a little as 7 to 8 years. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my amazing guest, Murray, to the RNG Radio Show. Murray, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, Daniel, thanks. Great to be here. Great to be connected with you. You're like a shining light. So I'm pretty excited to have you, to have this conversation. And this is just the beginning. So
Yes,
looking
yes,
forward
it
to a
is.
long relationship.
Yes, yes, for years to come, years to come. So I want to start off, Murray. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I know, in addition to my LinkedIn stalking, but I know a few things about you. But for the world to know, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I went into the Army right out of college. I was a logistics officer for 5 years, and I was a veteran of the Cold War, which means there wasn't actually any fighting, but there was a lot of tension, with Russia and stuff like that. And I was 20 minutes from the border with Russia for 3 years. It was kind of hectic a little bit, but it was cool living in Germany. And then I had a 35-year career as a Fortune 500 controller at 3 different Fortune 500 companies: Raytheon, Texas Instruments, and which most people have heard of, but no one's ever heard of Analog Devices, which was a semiconductor company I worked for about 17 years. My job was to eliminate reduce the cost of goods sold. You got a P&L. You've got the first item is revenue or sales. The second line, I had no control over that, but the second line is cost of goods sold. So these are all manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing. And so that was my responsibility, was to reduce that. And then 3 years ago, they offered me an early retirement, even though I was, in my prime, but that's okay. I was looking to go, I always wanted to do something on my own. I had reached a peak in the corporate world. There's only just a little bit too, I just wanted to call my own shots. Let's put it that way. And for the last couple of years, I've been working for myself. And we'll talk about what I've been doing the last year and a half, but it's really been like I have the cure for cancer. So,
It sounded just like that. It honestly did from what you showed me. Folks, just so you understand, I've had prior conversations with Murray, and there's a chart. I've seen many charts in Google Sheets and Excel sheets, all that jazz, but Murray literally broke down as far as how he is curing cancer with this. Moving forward, now, Murray, it's tough for me waking up in the morning, but
it is tough.
what motivates you to pretty much get out of your bed every single morning, and start your day?
Well, I find this job, it's not really a job. I just like helping people. And if I can help somebody out, it's incredibly satisfying. And, whenever you're working for somebody else in a big company, you can probably relate to this. You're working for somebody else. And, not trying to brag, we saved millions of dollars for the companies I worked for. And it certainly was not me. We had a great team, real smart people, smarter than me. I just happened to be the guy who could talk a lot. And, we saved millions of dollars, but none of it was as rewarding as showing people how to get out of debt. And it's the most professional and rewarding thing I've ever done. And I really, there were a lot of days when I worked for somebody else that I would dread getting up and driving in, and, it just kind of start off on the wrong foot, but when you can call your own shots and you can help people, that has really kind of re-energized me. So
I love
very
that.
excited.
Love that. Now, let's not keep our audience in suspense. Tell me more about this debt elimination program, and specifically what it's called. So, because I want folks to research before they get in contact with you, and once they've done their 5-minute research, get in contact with you.
Awesome.
So, tell us a little bit more about this program.
So, the company is called United Financial Freedom. You can look them up, United Financial Freedom. The program is called the Money Max account. And it's like a financial GPS, okay? It will show you the fastest way that's mathematically possible to eliminate your interest. Here's the key, Daniel. Without changing your lifestyle, without changing your budget, within your existing cash flow. So you don't have to sell your car and ride a bicycle. You don't have to live on ramen noodles. You don't have to refinance. You don't have to consolidate your debt. You don't have to take out another mortgage, blah, 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 blah. This is live like you're living and just take advantage, use the financial resources that you're not using. And it's not magic, it's math. What we have is 26 pages of banking algorithms. So banks, right? Banks are good at making money with money, right? If you drive through any big city, even medium-sized cities, the largest buildings that when you're going through the downtown, they all have a bank name on them. Why is that? Because they really know how to make money from money. And although banks are helpful and useful and they have their place, they're not always looking out for your interest, right? So we are taking advantage of the same concepts that banks use on your behalf. It's basically a platform. And you can now leverage what banks do to eliminate your debt. And here's the underlying, people say, how does that work? Well, here's the underlying concept that each type of debt you have, and by the way, I didn't learn this, and I'm a financial executive, okay? So don't be ashamed if you don't know this, but each type of debt instrument uses different math to calculate interest. This is the key underlying premise, and our program takes advantage of that. For example, a mortgage uses something called the closed-end amortized loan, right? And you can get a 3% mortgage, maybe. That's considered a good rate. But when you do the math, right, look at your amortization schedule. I won't go too deep in it on this call, but what you really want, how they get away with calling a mortgage 3% seems criminal, because you look at the actual interest you pay, particularly at the beginning of the mortgage. The ratio of interest to principal is more like 40–50%. But they get away with calling it a 3% loan. And I've heard people say, oh, I got a 2.5% loan. That's almost like free money. No, it's not, pal. You got to look at the math. So the key is look at the math. So mortgage interest is calculated differently than credit card interest. They both have interest rates. They both have terms, but we know credit card interest there's like a minimum payment. It's based on your average daily balance. You do have 30 days of free money with a credit card if you can pay it all off. So that's good. Take advantage of that. But the math on any remaining balance is different than a mortgage. And those math is different than a car loan, which is different than a line of credit, which is different than a personal loan. All of them are different. And yet they don't really tell you that. When you borrow money, you don't get a manual. Like, here's a debt manual to understand, what you're actually paying. And they don't teach it in school. And I think it was Alan Greenspan used to be the chairman of the Fed, right? And he said the biggest problem in the U.S. today is the illiteracy of the financial of the consumer, or something like that. And that's because people are being conditioned now to look at, can I make the payment versus what does this really cost? Like when you buy a car, they don't tell you what you're paying. You get a lease and you're paying monthly payments. Furniture stores, you don't start paying for 12 months, but you really got to understand what you actually paying, because the interest is calculated differently for all your kind of debt. And so our program puts that information on in your hands. I mean, you don't have to do the math. The program does the math. And like a financial GPS, I love that analogy, and I'll probably use it again. It'll tell you where to move your money to eliminate debt as fast as possible. It'll, just like a GPS, it'll tell you where to turn, but you got to move the wheel. So I'm very excited about this. The biggest, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. The biggest objection I get is, that sounds too good to be true.
It does.
So,
Coming from personal experience and actually seeing this, folks. Murray actually broke it down to me and actually showed me what the cost of a vacation trip, would cost in the long run. Because you're thinking that, oh, I got $1,000 to spare. I'm doing so great with this program. Yeah, maybe I could pull my money to a side and actually, go on a small trip with me and the spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, hubby, what have you. And then you're looking at the cost and you're like, wait a second, it's going to cost me this amount 2 years from now, 3 years from now, because you're putting things off. So Murray actually breaks it down with you with this program and actually shows you. I'm jumping ahead now, selling it for folks, but I want people to realize it is that financial GPS. It's going to tell you, hey, go straight and make this payment, go straight and make this payment, go straight and make two payments here, and then you're going to come to where it's like, hey, oh snap, I'm debt free. But with the financial GPS, if you decide when the program tells you go straight and make a payment, if you decide, oh, I'm just going to put $20, I know they need 100, but the minimum is 20. Now this GPS is going to tell you longer. You know how like you drive in and you get off
mm,
that wrong road or make that
yeah.
wrong turn, and it increases your time frame. So Murray's trying to prevent all that. It's a 2-hour trip, not a 20-hour trip. So
Mm.
I digress. I digress because I'm excited about the program, and just partnering with you about that. Uh, Now, who can actually benefit from this program? Because you hear a lot of people is like, maybe I'm not in this situation, or they'll look right at the website and be like, I don't think this is really for me. So, who are the
Mm.
folks that are really, as soon as they hear about UFF, come directly to you and learn more?
Well, great. Thank you. That was a great summary there, man. Uh, you nailed it. This is why I'm so thrilled to be working with you, Daniel, because first of all, you have a good big picture vision. You're very articulate. And I believe that this program is perfect for the same people you try to help. That's why I like to work with you, because you like to help people. That's really
Yes.
your motivating thing. And so the beauty of being your own boss is you get to pick who you work with. When you're working for a big company, you're thrust into whoever's sitting, next to you or whatever. So being able to work with you and all the stuff you do is great. And so it's, at a high level, it's anybody who has debt. And it doesn't mean that you're broke and have debt. It means even people who make a lot of money have debt. So we have the ability to help you pay that debt off faster. It doesn't matter what kind of debt. We focus on mortgages a lot. Why? Because mortgages are usually one of the biggest financial decisions that anyone makes in their life. And B, because there's a lot of meat on the bone to save on a mortgage because of the way interest is calculated. We tend to focus on that, but it also works on student loans, credit cards, the whole works, and multiple debts at the same time. It's not like you only need to have one debt. So the only criteria that you need to have to make this program work is you have to have a checking and savings account, which I've never met anyone who didn't. So that's an easy one. And the other thing is you have to have more coming in than going out at a high level. What does that mean? Your total income and money coming in has got to be greater on an average than your debt payments currently and your living expenses. So you add all that up, and if you're in the positive a little bit, even if it's only like 20, $50, this will work. And so think about that. So who can it really help? Anybody who's got a mortgage, particularly if it's a new mortgage or a new refinance, right?
Oh yeah.
Those are probably some of the best candidates. So if you're thinking about refinancing, it may make sense to just pay off the existing mortgage, now, instead of incurring, refinancing is the hot topic, right? Because interest rates are low. And if you're like me, you get letters in the mail. If you own property, you get letters in the mail from banks saying rates have never been lower. You should think about refinancing, right? So sometimes it makes more sense to just pay off what you have with our program to minimize the debt rather than kicking the can down the road on a mortgage by refinancing. And yes, you get lower payments, which is usually why people refinance, but look at the total interest you're paying. And then there's a cost to refinance too. There's closing costs. So, so let me get back on track. So people with mortgages or people who just refinance, or people who are thinking about refinancing, particularly 30-year mortgages, we can really do a lot. But even a 15-year we could look at. People who have a large amount of student debt. People who have juggling multiple credit cards. People who just can't get, that are like strangled. They can't make the next move because a lot of their income is tied up into paying off debt. I think two big demographics are people in their 50s and 60s getting ready to retire, and they don't want to retire with, this was me. I'm going to retire with I just refinanced. I didn't know this, by the way. I'm a financial executive and I didn't know how mortgages were calculated. So don't feel bad if you don't know this. I was going to be paying for this house until I'm 85, and I've been living here for 25 years already. So that's not something I want to do when I'm retired. So people who are in their 50s and 60s who are getting ready to retire and don't want to be paying debt while they're retired, or another great, avenue are like young families, people who just, recently married, just trying to get on their feet. Maybe they have a young, some young kids, or maybe they're just thinking about buying a house. And, in that stage of their life, they have to accumulate some stuff to kind of get their families rolling, whether it's cars, maybe apartment, house, maybe they have student debt. People who are just got too many debt balls in the air, they can't keep juggling. Those are great candidates. But even if you're not broke and not totally drowning in debt, if you have a lot of different debts, you should at least take a look at this program. We can run a free analysis and see what it can do. So
And
go ahead.
no, and I was going to say with the free analysis, because some of these programs, if you will tell you to go online. They'll tell you, oh, start with this website, fill out this information, and a representative will get in contact with you to break everything down. With you, Murray, how can folks get in contact with you? Once they have done their research, how can they get in contact with you to go over the next steps, and specifically that free analysis? As realtors,
Awesome.
we can't just do a comp over the phone and say like, yeah, send me your address, I can give you a free comp analysis. It has to be that conversation. So
Yeah.
how can folks get into that conversation with you and do that free analysis?
I'm gonna answer that in a second, but I want to point out something else which we
Sure.
haven't talked about.
Yeah.
You mentioned real estate agents. If you are a real estate agent, okay, or work in the real estate industry, like if you sell mortgages, you are trying to help people make the biggest financial decision they're ever going to make. So people who sell mortgages, I don't want to make them look like they're bad people. We need mortgages to get what we are trying to get. But I want to just plant this seed. All right. What if you were selling mortgages, or what if you were selling mortgages and you could say to somebody, look, I've got a couple different mortgage options here for you with some great rates and some great terms, and you're going to be able to qualify for this loan. But what if I could also show you how to pay it off in 7 years? Would that be of interest to you? Can you imagine if you were a mortgage officer and be able to tell somebody that? I mean, I think you'd get a lot of referrals, and I think really at the end of the day, you have a great feeling inside that not only did you enable somebody to get their dream home, but you also help them get out of debt. And I just think I just want to plant that seed. Likewise, if you're a real estate agent, are you buying or selling? You have to hit somebody at the exact time in their life, which is only going to be a microsecond of their entire life, where they're going to need a realtor either buying or selling, but they're always going to have debt. So that's a conversation you could have as a realtor. Are you buying? Are you selling? Okay, no. Okay, well, do you have a mortgage, or do you have any loans? So this is another way. These are, imagine if you could sell if you're a realtor, you could say, I'd like to have you help you buy your dream house and then show you how to pay it off in 7 years. Would that be of interest? Imagine the stickiness you'd have with clients. It's another conversation to have That's Daniel and I are working on that kind of brainstorming right here. I love to partner with folks who can benefit, whose clients can benefit from this program, and to help you do more of what you already do if you're a real estate professional. All right, let's have that conversation. And the way to get a hold of me, two best ways are email. All right, Murray, Murray, at boostedprofits.com. That's all one word. Okay. Or connect with me on LinkedIn. Everything I do is on LinkedIn. The challenge is you got to be able to spell my last name. So I'm hoping Daniel is going to publish that
Oh
in the
yeah.
podcast notes.
Yeah,
Okay.
the link will, folks, if you're listening now or watching it on YouTube, the links are definitely in the comments below, where you can get in contact with Murray directly. Or there's a beautiful thing called Google, in which you can start typing Murray's name. You can actually just type Murray LinkedIn. I think that's how I stalked you back. Just type Murray LinkedIn. Not saying that he owns LinkedIn. It's just, I was
There's
one
not
of
a
the
lot of
few.
Murrays. Yeah.
Right, I was gonna say there are very few Murrays out here in the world. So if you can
Yeah.
find a Murray LinkedIn and see this amazing guy, get connected with them right there. And you're very, and that's what I love about you, Murray. You're very open with the conversation. When you have this conversation, and I'm hoping it's going to be in the near future, folks. But when you talk with Murray, it's not the bells and whistles of sell, sell, sell. It's very transparent. He's showing you how he did it. He's showing you how the benefit actually made him to where he's at, and he just wants to share that.
Mm.
If for those, I don't eat red meat anymore, but when folks said like, "Oh man, I know this great burger joint you got to check out," you're going straight towards it. So
Mm.
Murray's got this great burger joint for those who are vegan and may eat red meat as well that he wants you to check out, and it's a
Mm.
free financial analysis. And I would want to say it's not that much time. For the time that we've spent, it's like a blink of an eye to me right now,
Mm.
looking back at it, because it's like, wow, I should be able to do this, whether for others or even for myself. That's really the two avenues that folks should be looking at. And the other thing that I want to point out, and Murray, you can look at this as well, or I should say, explain further on it, is about the cost. The cost is
Mm.
not definite. You hear
Mm.
about these programs, this debt consolidation program. Hey, in 6 months' time, we're going to knock it out because it's going to cost this much and this much alone. But with Murray, hey, you might have the same thing as a fellow friend, fellow cousin, fellow family member, but it's going to be completely different. So if you do decide to get in the program, don't let cost get in your way, because Murray's going to find a trick or some type of magic wand to make it work for you in the long run. And above all, the free analysis is going to get you that step closer to being debt free. So
Mm.
take the opportunity and get in contact.
Yeah. So if you had the cure for cancer, I've used that analogy before. Would you want to tell people about it? So I just can't tell enough people about this. It's an award-winning program. I don't know if you ever heard of Ernst and Young, which is a large accounting firm, one of the third largest in the world. They awarded this program with the Entrepreneur of the Year award because it's such a difference maker. As a financial professional, that makes a big difference to me. That was like Warren Buffett giving it an award, or LeBron James, saying this is the best basketball coach, I know of. You should check him out, or whatever. It's just gives this is a very credible. It's not a fly-by-night operation, and I just can't talk enough about it. And it, it's really about helping people, So it just gives you a warm feeling inside because it works and it's guaranteed. Did we say that? Did I say
Yeah,
that yet?
yeah,
It's
yeah. That's
guaranteed.
yes. And here's the guarantee, folks. You got to follow it.
You got to
You got to
follow.
follow it. Okay.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if your coach, for those who are, I mean, like myself, I need a coach personally. But if my coach were to tell me, hey, you got to do 50 crunches a day,
Yeah.
50 or 30-second planks, you got to do 20 of them, and I need you to see you at 100 push-ups. You need to be
Yeah.
doing that daily. If
Yeah.
I miss a
Mm.
day, or if I say, well, I only need to do 10 push-ups for the whole day, that'll be enough. That's going to drag it out. Okay.
Mm.
So if you're not following the plan, if you're not following Murray's advice when he goes over the program with you, yes, like I said, it's that financial GPS again. That 2 hour trip is going to turn into a 20-hour trip, and you're going to be sitting there like, oh, I joined the program and I'm not getting anywhere. Well, did you join the program and do everything that was told to you? Because that's
Mm,
the trick, folks. That's the trick.
mm,
So yes, the guaranteed trick is that as long as you're following, as long as you're going step by step, it's math. There's no magic wand. There's no, science. We're not
mm,
combining different chemicals and everything like that. It is just a
yeah,
matter of basic math. If you're paying X amount for your car loan, you're paying X amount for your mortgage, and groceries are included. Please don't think that it's like, okay, well, I got to eat ramen noodles, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches now that I'm in this debt cancellation program. No, you're still doing the
not
same.
that.
You're
Yeah.
just providing that info as far
Mm,
as how much you are spending, and it might give you a look at it as well. Me personally, I when I moved in with my girlfriend, we had to look at our grocery bill. We realized we were spending too much money on the outside than we were spending for groceries, for the house itself. It wasn't
mm,
like I couldn't cook or she couldn't cook. It was just that we found the ease and convenience of spending money outside than in. So
mm.
Murray's going to break that down for you. Murray's actually going to show you in regards to what you should be spending, and if you do decide to up it up from $200 to 250 for your grocery bill, you're going to see how that cost is affecting you. So maybe you might not need those Oreos like myself, but I love double stuff. Can't help it.
Who doesn't?
Right, right. So, a couple of last things here. I wanted to know, outside of the awards by Ernst and Young and such, what is another thing that you didn't expect that you were providing for these clients that you were bringing in, Murray?
Well, this is pretty wild. So, the number one cause of, you know, stress between couples is usually financial, right? And when you're talking divorce, it doesn't have to be divorce, but when you're talking divorce, a lot of times there's a financial undertone there, right? And everybody has arguments over finance, and so I've had calls. So when we run the analysis and show what we can do, we're doing Zoom now, right? Everybody's doing Zoom. So imagine I had we have married couples, husband and wife, doesn't have to be married, but we run the numbers. You can just see the stress on their face because they don't know, they're just trapped by debt. They're strangled by debt. And we show them how a program's going to work, and we run their analysis and say, hey, this $700,000 of debt you have, and you don't have to have that much. You're going to be able to pay this off in like 6 years or something. It was projected to be like 30. That was an extreme case, but you could just see the stress. And by the way, everyone's results are different, so you can't, but you can just see the stress melt off. And I've seen a couple times where like the husband reached around and put his arm around his wife, but it's almost like marriage counseling. And
It's a big thing.
it's like an unexpected benefit. Let's just say that. I just
Mm.
think that it will take time for them to get out of debt, but now they have a path. They
Right,
have a path. They have a plan, and to have a plan to get out of those weeds and the stranglehold of debt, and the money that's tied up into what they're paying in debt. And I know this from personal experience. A lot of people are in debt. Now that money is going to be freed up to do whatever they want, and so they can live their life on their own terms. So that is a surprise. Kind of the marriage counseling benefit. I don't know how to say it. It seems to improve relationships. Let's call it that. Let's just say that unintended but nice consequence. You know what I
right.
mean?
No, no, no. I love that. I love that. And it is exactly that. You're telling somebody who might be starting a family, hey, you're not going to have to be in your grandparents' age to actually
Mm,
finally start enjoying life.
yes.
You can now, if you're in your late 20s, now before you hit 40, you'll be able to still have this life that you're looking for. Because
Especially young families like that, I would
yeah,
encourage them to look at this. Don't wait till you're already drowning. Yeah.
yeah,
Good point, Daniel. Yeah.
yeah, because you get to a point where uh, the 30-year mortgage is a big leap, and then you'll hear banks say like, hey, well, we have a 15-year mortgage, and it's like, hey, yeah, I could do that, and now Murray comes along and tells you like, maybe you could do a 7, 8 year mortgage.
Just take a look at, run the numbers first. Know what you're actually paying before you make any financial decisions. And one of the things about this program, which we didn't talk about, is Daniel talked about it a little bit. You can do what if scenarios. Like he talked about going on vacation, maybe want to refinance, maybe, what happens if I have college debt for my kids, what you can put all this stuff in the future, and it will map it out. And it'll show you the fastest way to eliminate debt as fast as mathematically possible without changing your lifestyle. So,
And it
pretty
goes back
cool.
to that financial GPS,
Yeah.
before, because I do come from a time where Google was not in existence, especially during college, would have helped me a lot. But, I had to go buy those big Walmart maps in order to get to and from
Yes.
college. But now, you could put in an additional stop, if you're going to a destination and saying like, well, I plan on stopping here first, or I need to make this stop first, and it's going
Mm.
to let you know.
It
It's that,
recalculates.
yeah, it's that
Just,
financial GPS, folks. It's
yep.
that financial GPS. So if you're on a road trip, and I'm coming from Philadelphia here to down to DC, and you may need to make a stop in Baltimore, Maryland, it's going to tell you, hey, if you make this stop, or if you
Mm.
plan this trip,
Mm.
or if you do have this or expected
Mm.
expenses coming up, it's going to let you know, hey, with this expense, you're going to be paying this amount if
Mm.
you choose to stop here.
Mm.
If you plan on being somewhere by 5 o'clock p.m. that day, and you're leaving from Philly at 12 p.m. to go to
Mm.
DC, and it's like, yeah, I got plenty of time. Maybe I might make a couple of stops, but those
Mm.
couple of stops could prevent you from getting there to your destinations on time. And, Murray breaks that down. Everybody's life is going to be different, folks.
Yeah.
So whether you're married, whether you're boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it's just you yourself, whether you're an investor as well. And I think that's a good point that I want to bring up, because Murray, that was a shock to me. You talked about it in our prior conversations, and I'm giving away secrets here, folks, but you talked about it in our prior conversations that, let's say somebody has a duplex, they have a multifamily, and they're looking at investing into another property. This
Mm.
program, and correct
Mm.
me if I'm wrong, but this program tells you, hey, if you're adding on this expense, if you're adding on, let's say, this brand new $300,000 property, no
Mm.
matter what your cash flow is going to be on it, you're actually breaking down what the
Mm.
costs are going to be for the future and how that debt can be paid off. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we have a lot of, I have clients who are real estate investors, and particularly when they're, real estate investing has a lot of different ways to do that, right? It's a big umbrella. But if you're into buying residences, right, you usually have to buy a mortgage on those, right? And so, and then you rent out the property. So I have real estate investors that are able to project future properties. Now, of course, they're estimating, but they kind of have an idea of the dollar value of the property they're looking at. So I got a guy who's, a prime example. He's actually active duty Navy. He's in the Navy, and in his part time, he's creating a real estate empire. So when he gets out of the Navy, he doesn't have to work for anybody. Every 3 years now, he's buying another property, and he's put in estimates based on his experience of what that's going to cost. And the program uses that information, and the cash flow from the first property he's got helps pay off the second, and it waterfalls down, and he's going to pay them all off, in an amazing amount of time, as little as 1/3 the time. He's got a few other, secret sauce, but it's part of his overall investment strategy, because whenever you buy, property, the mortgage that is required is, there's a lot of interest there. So we're helping him save on that interest, and it's pretty cool. And,
That's awesome.
Daniel is in the perfect spot to help you as a real estate agent, to help you, implement this into your overall strategy, if you are a real estate investor, you should definitely take a look at this.
Definitely, definitely.
That makes sense?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I'm hoping folks can, definitely grasp that. Before I let you go, and I love always asking this question because if anything, it's the mastermind tip. What piece of advice do you live by that keeps you going day after day?
So when you get to be an old guy,
You're not old,
it,
Murray. I've seen old people.
it's so I'm glad you asked me that, because when we get to my age, it's in your job description to give unsolicited advice. So you ever talk to, oh, well, when I went, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, so my advice is this, and it's kind of and I was doing this before I ever heard of Zig Ziglar, and I'm going to botch the exact Zig Ziglar quote, but the idea is the more you can help other people, the more you're going to get back in return, just from the act of helping other people. And so whenever you're doing business with people, if you're an entrepreneur especially, but I think in anything, develop a relationship and, sincerely try to help them, and it will pay off greatly for them, but you're going to get more benefit out of it. And it doesn't have to be all financial. There's a lot of ways to benefit from relationships that aren't just financial. So take a look at the big picture. Don't think transactional all the time, right? Don't look to just make a deal and go on to the next deal, but look to really help people. And even if you don't get something back immediately, it will pay off in the long run, either financial or in emotional, or a lot of different ways. So always, try to see if you can help people. That's really why we're all here. So
I love that. I love that. And I think the key thing with that is it's a referral business. If you're not, if your industry or if your expertise is not based upon referrals, it shouldn't be just that one client. Like you said, transactional. It should be, okay, if I'm able to help out this family, then that should branch off to 5 other families, because everybody
yeah,
knows somebody that can benefit from this program. And it might not just be them.
yes,
We have it with the credit repair. That's our first question that we're usually asking folks. Hey, if this program isn't for you, do you know someone that could benefit from this? With this debt program, it's the same thing. Hey, you might be in a great financial state. You might be able to take care of where you're at right now. You might be happy with your 20 years left on your mortgage. I don't know. But if you're not, or know somebody that isn't, then by all means, please, please, please get in contact with Murray. His information is in the links below in the description. So please, please take that opportunity and just check him out. You're not going to lose anything if you talk with Murray. You will be gaining something. So
awesome. Thank you.
definitely. With that, Murray, I want to thank you again so much for coming on the RNG radio show. Really appreciate having you here. Definitely looking forward to connecting with you so we can work out some partnerships. And for those who are in the real estate business or maybe talking with clients that do mortgages, please, please get in contact with Murray. It will change your life to have a better conversation with those potential homeowners, because it's like, hey, if you're not buying, if you're not selling, let's scratch that out. With your current situation right now, do you know, I know a way that can decrease your debt, and get you out of this mortgage in the next 5 to 7 years, depending upon their situation, and just take them over straight to Murray. That's it. So
Awesome, man.
with that, again, thank you again so much. Like I said, looking forward to having you back on the show. And yeah, that's pretty
Talk
much
to you
it.
soon. Thank you very much, Daniel. It's a pleasure being on the show and meeting you and being in the same ecosystem. So thank you very much. I'm very grateful.
Definitely.